All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Today is Wednesday, February 18th, 2026. I'd like to welcome everybody to the board meeting. We'll call this meeting to order at 9 a.m. Our meeting is live streamed and you can join us online by going to our website. Other viewing options are available at tctvonline.com. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everybody to mute their phone. You can do this by pressing *6. Please unmute your phone when your agenda item is ready to be discussed. For those joining via computer, please unmute your microphone and turn on your camera when your agenda item is called. All others must remain muted with their cameras turned off. Thank you. I want to welcome everybody that's here. I just saw people signing the guest book, so please make sure you did that. And I would like to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner, whose turn is it?
Is it all right? What now?
Commissioner.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We will move on to public comment. Debbie, anybody online? Just one in one? Okay. So Bailey, would you mind coming up? Introduce yourself and welcome. We try to keep these between 2 minutes, but we have a little bit of leeway if you go over.
Oh, okay, great. Good morning. My name is April Bailey. I'm a resident of Neskowin. I'm here as the elected Republican PCP of Neskowin and also my hardworking fellow Tillamook County residents that can't be here today and are in opposition to this agenda I'm going to talk about. I will continue to advocate the commissioners meet for a business meeting at least once a quarter outside of regular working hours. I'm requesting that the Board of Commissioners vote no on agenda item number 13, reduction of the county treasurer to a .2 position within Central Services Department, and related items numbers 11 and 12, the reappointment of a budget committee and compensation board member. This request is made because the action is undemocratic, unwise, and will have unanticipated consequences. Whatever the intentions of reducing the elected county treasurer position to less than a quarter time, it is undemocratic by nature and by means of which it is being done. Commissioner Scar commented previously that she had concerned about the possibility of someone being elected that was mad at the county as a treasurer and the inability of the commissioners to influence that person. Commissioner Fournier stated that he did not want an elected treasurer to put up roadblocks to the progress the county was making. I will remind the commissioners that the same people that elected you elect the treasurer. This position has legal duties and is by nature check and balance to the commissioners. Proposing this position should be reduced to a level that no one could possibly provide oversight just for the things passed weekly in this meeting is in effect dissolving this elected position without a public hearing or referring it to the voters. Of course, as Commissioner Bell stated, a person without expertise could be elected to treasurer. This is true, but I remind the commissioners that in 2020, our country and children were broken by unelected bureaucrats and elected leaders willing to obey their orders without oversight and without democratic process. None of us would want to repeat that mistake. This action is unwise because it may need to lead to financial loss or political loss to the commissioners. In 2024, Polk County lost a lawsuit for a similar action of reducing the treasurer as you propose. A lawsuit is a direct loss to the county and the taxpayer, but lack of independent oversight is also a loss, which is why I'm against the reappointment of any budget committee member that has been involved with this process that led to this proposal. There are other reasons I'm opposed to that position being reappointed to that person. As for the political loss, here I will just mention that many people of whom I disagree, with whom I often disagree with my political views, are quite shocked at this proposal. So what will be the political loss? That is where the unanticipated consequences come. Citizens of Tillamook County have legal electoral options should they find this action as odious as I. Not only could citizens sue the county, but they can conduct a recall or vote out the commissioners. Furthermore, if the commissioners are going to continue to try to operate as a home rule county instead of their designation as a general rule county, then perhaps it's time that it should go before the voters. Why should the taxpayers of Tillamook County need to pay for full-time salary of 3 commissioners if the commissioners are going to utilize a home rule model with a county manager and a financial director? Of course, you will also lose influence as you'll have to share your power with 2 more commissioners elected by the people. In closing, I'm asking you to vote no on agenda items 11, 12, and 13. Please reconsider this. Of course, you can always come back later with another proposition that could maybe fulfill your purposes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for coming in person. Thank you very much, and thanks for coming in person. Just for the record, we will be addressing a lot of those concerns later on in this meeting. So we shall move on. Any no non-agenda items? So we shall move on to legislative administrative. Agenda item number 5, consideration of a communications use lease with the U.S. Department of Agriculture for the Mount Hebo Communication Site. John Hartsock, consultant, J.N. Hartsock Project Management. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. And I apologize for not being there in person. This is a extension of the existing lease with the U.S. Forest Service on Mount Hebo. The extension is until 2055, so it's a 29-year extension, which is nice that we don't have to renew it more frequently. It's a lengthy document that most are with the federal government, and it's very similar to other leases I've done on Forest Service property, so find it appropriate. Our current fee is $760 a year. It increases at about 4.25% per year. The process, every year they send a questionnaire to see how we're using the sites and so on and so forth, because using it for public safety purposes, we get a reduced fee. And if we have other users that are not public safety, then the fee would increase. But as I say, it's a standard lease, and I would be glad to answer any questions you might have and would recommend approval.
Okay. Any questions, comments, Commissioner Bell?
I do not have any. Thank you.
Commissioner Stoll?
Nor do I appreciate the expertise. This is a fairly thick document of legalese, so appreciate the right eyes looking at it so that we can be assured we're making a good choice. So thank you for that.
And just remind folks, this is one of the most important towers we have for public safety, fire, police, and ambulance service. So thank you, John. I'm also in support of this. So
All right.
I'm ready for a motion.
Mr. Chair, in consideration of a communications lease with the U.S. Department of Agriculture for the Mount Hebo Communications Site, I move approval.
Okay. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay. Moving on to agenda item number 6, consideration of subaward agreement with Northwest Medical Foundation of Tillamook, DBA Adventist Health Tillamook for the Oregon Criminal Justice Commission Behavioral Health Deflection Grant Program Melody our Tillamook Opioid Substance Use Response Project Director.
Whoa, that's
Good
a mouthful.
morning.
Thank you,
I'm looking for
commissioners.
Bridget in here.
Bridget's got other things she's working on, and I would just like to, because I've got this agenda item as well as the next that I'll be speaking and answering any questions about. I just want to say another thank you to the County of Tillamook and the commissioners, because the fact that I have been before this august body of leaders so many times in the last several months speaks to the high level of partnership that the county has with organizations and frontline caregivers in the county, including Adventist Health Tillamook. And so it's an honor to be a part of a partnership at this level. And on some meetings we are on with folks who have experience in other areas, they're like, nobody does it quite like you do it in Tillamook. And so we're proud of that. Just to give a quick update, in 17 weeks of active outreach pathway for deflection, Bridget reports that we have connected 26 people to services. Now, I do add the caveat that this isn't a straight line from, ooh, service to, ooh, optimum health, but connecting people to services. And I did a ride along with her yesterday, and just to say, yes, we don't just say, here's your appointment way over there, but here's your appointment. Do you need help getting there? And working on that. So the Behavioral Health Deflection Grant Program, what you have before you today is the subaward over the next 2 years of about 124,000 and some hundreds that provide Bridget's time, covers 13% of Bridget's time, gets us a telephone that is specific to deflection, and some supplies and mileage at the current rate that I think it's 70 cents a mile for our hospital anyway. And so I'm happy to answer any questions about this.
Okay. Any questions, commissioners? Commissioner Carr?
No questions, but as always, I appreciate the partnership with Adventist Health. This is one of the pieces. This is the first tranche of this funding was specific for Tillamook County. And as we asked our departments who would like to take this on, everybody did that nose goes thing where that means I can't take it. I've just got too much going on. And we already had the partnership with Adventist Health through our Tillamook doing similar work. So I appreciate the partnership in taking on the leadership of this program. It's really amazing. And 26 people referred. I mean, again, as you pointed out, it's not a straight line, but without Bridget, and we all joke about her red wagon full of snacks and different referral materials. Those are 26 people that would not probably have received a referral, nor have sought the first step of any form of assessment or treatment. So this program for Tillamook County is working. We've done it a little differently than other counties. We don't have a law enforcement component to it. It is very much a voluntary opportunity, and people are taking it. So I think what we're really learning is by meeting people where they are, like truly where they are, they don't even have to make it to an office for service. We're finding them and saying, we're here to help you. They're saying thank you, and they're giving it their best shot, and we appreciate that. And so I'm excited that this grant is here. I'm excited that when we applied for the second tranche, we got that as well, which expands on the ability to have more people doing outreach. So yeah, I appreciate Adventist Health for being the one that said, we'll take it, when everybody else said, just can't. So thank you for that.
Okay, Chabelle?
I echo my colleagues' comments. I'm deeply grateful for the partnership with Adventist Health and for the ways that Adventist Health moves in our community to fulfill the mission and to be an important partner. And like Aaron said, nobody else felt like they had the capacity or actually had the capacity to do the work. And so Adventist Health stepped in and said, we'll do it. And so it's so very meaningful and so appreciated. And it's, when I think about the investment, like when someone who is addicted gets better, absolutely everyone in the community benefits, because the ripples of good things that happen from that in jobs, in families, with children, etc., the ripples move out and touch the whole community. So it's the right thing to do for the right reasons, and also it benefits everyone. So it's really a wonderful thing.
I concur, and I also am very proud of the work that you and Bridget have done with this program. It was a model without having the law enforcement component into it. It was a model that wasn't really being pushed out by the state. It was there. I think we're proving that for our community it is working. So I think that's fantastic. So I'm ready for a motion.
All right. Mr. Chair, in consideration of a subaward agreement with Northwest Medical Foundation of Tillamook, DBA Adventist Health Tillamook for the Oregon Criminal Justice Commission Behavioral Health Deflection Grant Program, I move approval.
I second.
Hearing a motion and a second, any further discussion? Hearing none. Call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. And next up is also Melody. This is agenda item number 7, consideration of a subaward agreement with Northwest Medical Foundation of Tillamook, DBA Adventist Health Tillamook for the Oregon Criminal Justice Commission jail-based medications for opioid use disorder grant program. Hello.
Hi, hello again. It's my honor to be here. And for anyone listening who says, why are they saying Northwest Medical Foundation of Tillamook, DBA Adventist Health Tillamook? It's because the county, all of us, own the building that we call the hospital, and Adventist Health has a long-term lease. I don't even know how far that goes these days. And last I knew it was 2045, which seems like it's coming, and as well as a management contract for that. So that's why the complicated name that we inherited from 1973. So the jail-based medications for opioid use disorder, I want to right up front call out an appreciation of partnership with Tillamook County Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Brown under Sheriff Kelly. It looks like Karen Kronoff is on this call as well. And this prime award was money that was allocated to the county and would have gone elsewhere had we not claimed it. And so I'm deeply grateful for the partnership with the sheriff's office, because that way we have the money coming into Tillamook. We're able to provide the very expensive medications that it takes for opioid use and substance use disorder. We average about $6,000 a month, just the hospital's contract price for those medications. No markup, no indirect cost added to that. That is the average amount for those medications, just for opioid use. And so being able to have the $138,000 over the next 2 years to help alleviate that cost, as well as about 3% of Bridget's time, where we may be doing some adjustments with that in a future grant award modification, but we're talking through that with Karen and Lieutenant Silvera, the jail commander, and the sheriff's office. So we're delighted to be a part of this. We're honored to offer this treatment, because you get into custody and you are on enforced sobriety. And so to be able to take that opportunity to then go, yes, I might want to get better. I might want to get well. I think I would like to make a different choice in life. And to be able to support that with medications that help you with those choices and that reaffirm those choices is super important, as well as some of the other expense in this grant helps with transition. Those who are released from custody, adults released from custody, can then have housing that they can go to, as well as supplies. You may not have bedding anymore. You may not have basic clothing other than what you have left when you are discharged. So does some work toward transition planning, getting folks successfully back out into the county and the community, as well as get that treatment started while they are in that controlled environment and able to make some different choices perhaps than they had before. So.
Well, I think you said better than we could, but any questions or comments? Commissioner Starr?
No questions. I think this is a great opportunity once again. And, the part that always strikes me about opioid use disorder is that it actually changes your brain and it creates a receptor in your brain, and not for everyone, but for folks who are predisposed. When you use an opioid, your brain creates a receptor that then says, I must have this. And so that's one of the reasons that we see that people, we see it with young athletes. It's one of the most heartbreaking places we see it is in a high school athlete who has a horrible, horrible injury. They're prescribed opioids. They find themselves in a situation of substance use disorder and addiction, and their brain doesn't stop. They keep seeking and seeking and seeking. And a lot of times heroin is one of the other drugs that will actually plug that receptor. So it's really, really difficult. And what to me is exciting about the medication assisted treatment that we can do, or now they've changed it, MOUD, they changed the words on me, but to do that when they're in custody is, as you said, it gives them the opportunity to say, I want to do this differently. And it gives them an opportunity to receive that in a really intentional, and I'm going to say a way that doesn't require them to go out and seek it in the community, because that is a hard road. You don't just show up, and say, I'm ready for my medication and have it handed to you. So to develop that habit, if you will, of taking that medication, knowing how it makes you feel, which is better. And so that when we do the transition out of custody, there's, I think, a much greater chance that they will retain that habit of taking that medication instead of opioids or heroin or something else that meets that receptor. So, I know too much said, but it has struck me for a long time that this is really an important step.
Great. Commissioner Bell?
I am fully supportive also. I want people to have every opportunity to change their lives if they choose to. And I think that that having a safety net or a transition program to help them from one place in life to another is an excellent investment in our humanity, in our community, and in hope. So I'm fully supportive.
Great. I agree. And I just want to thank you for calling out. This is a great partnership with Adventist Health and the Sheriff's Office, and Karen for the amount of work, because we all know that these grants come with a lot of reporting requirements, a lot of financials and stuff. So it's a lot of work behind the scenes, and I appreciate you calling them for that. So I think I'm ready for a motion.
All right, Mr. Chair, in consideration of a subaward agreement with the Northwest Medical Foundation of Tillamook, DBA, Adventist Health Tillamook for the Oregon Criminal Justice Commission jail-based medications for opioid use disorder grant program, I move approval.
I second.
Okay, hearing a motion in a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Melanie.
Thank you
Melody.
again.
Melody.
All right. Moving along, agenda item 8, consideration of the administrative service agreement with Tillamook Family Counseling Center Incorporated for the fulfillment of the Criminal Justice Commission Specialty Court Grant for Tillamook County Behavioral Health Court. Amanda Bunger, Executive Director, Tillamook Family Counseling Center. Good morning.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, of course. So I'm also here for a very exciting and great opportunity for our community, and that's Behavioral Health Court. And my understanding is we've had this for several years, and we have again been awarded the ability to have a clinician from my team involved in that court. From my understanding, we have had the ability to maybe have interactions with individuals through this process that we might not have reached otherwise. And so again, that gives us the ability to enter them into services. What can we help you with? Do you need case management? Do you need medication management? Do you need psychiatric care? Those kinds of things. And so again, this just gives us the opportunity to be more involved with our community and really help those who are struggling with maybe addiction, maybe just criminal endeavors to get through those and really treat their behavioral health care where they are at that time. So this is for our continued involvement with Behavioral Health Court.
Great. Questions, comments, Commissioner Scar?
I know, sorry. You know that social service
That's why I'm
is
going
my
first.
world, right? So I can't let it go by without saying something about everything in this. Try to just, I appreciate that. So this is another great program. It's another one that acknowledges that people have very human needs and that often, unfortunately, jails and the court system are the answer that they are given when in fact they have a very human need for mental or behavioral health services. And the Behavioral Health Court allows there to be an opportunity for them to be supported through the court system with that particular work. We really appreciate the partnership with Tillamook Family Counseling to continue to be engaged in that work because it takes the entire community to make it work. And the contract that we're considering this morning is really a cornerstone of that work. So thank
Great,
you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I am grateful for this also. As you said, this agreement has been in place for some time and we have heard from the circuit court judges how much they value the program and how it is for them sometimes the most meaningful part of their work to see people's lives really change. And they have specifically called out Tillamook Family Counseling Center as a primary partner with gratitude and talked about how it wouldn't be possible without you. So it's a
Wonderful,
great,
thank you.
you're welcome. It's a great partnership. So
Thank you. I will pass it on to my team too.
I agree with both of them, and I'm also, I'm happy to see how excited you are as a new executive director to get to work on these things. So thank you for that.
Yeah, there's so much exciting stuff at Tillamook Family Counseling Center. And when I said I was going to present this, they said, hey, let's talk about case management and how that's going to look for behavioral health court, stuff like that. So it is really exciting and just looking at things with fresh eyes and saying, we can do some really amazing, fun stuff. So thank you.
Fantastic.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome. I think I'm ready for a motion.
All right. Mr. Chair, in consideration of an administrative services agreement with Tillamook Family Counseling Center, Inc. for the fulfillment of the Criminal Justice Commission Specialty Court Grant for Tillamook County Behavioral Health Court, I move approval.
I second.
Hearing a motion in a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda.
Amanda.
Okay. Trucking right along. Agenda item 9, consideration of a Sixth Amendment to the Oregon Health Authority 2025 to 2027 intergovernmental agreement number 185828 for the financing of public health services. Marlene Putnam, Administrator, Health and Human Services. Good morning, Marlene.
Good morning. This is a small amount of an increase in this amendment, but I'm happy for any additional funds that we receive. This is as described in Exhibit C, which is, let's see, page 3, 4, and 5. It's for $450 for a training item specifically to public health emergency preparedness and response. And this amendment is effective January 1, 2026, but these funds are available for a fairly short period between April 1 and June 31 of 2026. So that's all that this amendment is about.
All right, appreciate you going after every penny. Questions, comments, Commissioner Scar?
Just the 400, we appreciate every penny, and I bet it costs more than $450 between the county and the state to process this agreement. So one might have to ask the state about their process just a wee bit. But again, we appreciate the funding toward preparedness.
Indeed, and I know that you use it wisely, so I'm grateful.
Are you ready for a motion?
Mr. Chair, in consideration of a Sixth Amendment to Oregon Health Authority 2025-2027 Intergovernmental Agreement number 185828 for the financing of public health services, I move approval.
I second.
Hearing motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Marlene.
Thank you.
Okay, agenda item 10. Consideration of a letter supporting for a Community Action Resources Enterprises Incorporated application to serve as regional coordinator for the statewide shelter program. Commissioner Scott.
Thank
This is your day.
I know, right? I get to kick it all off. Lots of good things being done for people in the community. So under the governor's emergency order, Tillamook County formed something called a local planning group. And this was now, I believe it was 3 years ago. And when that local planning group was formed, it was the first time that Oregon Housing and Community Services directed funds just right to Tillamook County. Previously, all of our funds relating to houselessness and housing came through Community Action Team, which is the regional community action agency that covers Clatsop, Columbia, and Tillamook counties. So there was an opportunity that arose through the governor's emergency order to bring money directly into our county, which the really key thing about that is all funding from the state comes with a very limited pool of administrative support. So when we receive funds through Community Action Team, we get money to serve the people in our community, which is fantastic, but the administrative funds are cut generally in half or even less than that because Community Action Team maintains those as they are the body that has to monitor all of their subawards, et cetera. So it becomes for Tillamook County a little bit more challenging to administer those funds. In this case, there is an opportunity to apply directly to the state of Oregon to continue to receive the funds for offering shelter in Tillamook County through the statewide sheltering fund. And in Tillamook County, the partners have been Tides of Change, Helping Hands, and CARE for the last 2 years for these funds. They have worked collaboratively with CARE as the lead. This grant application would formalize that and CARE would become the lead for the next 5 years. And it would allow CARE to receive those administrative funds directly. So the request in front of you is to recommend CARE as that body for Tillamook County.
All right, Commissioner Bill, anything further?
I am fully supportive of this. I'm have some awareness of it from the perspective of Tides of Change because I sit on their board and know that their ability to use those funds to house people is tremendous. They've had tremendous success with that. And it makes so much sense to help people obtain and keep housing in a truly traumatic transition in their lives. And so these funds are serving the most vulnerable people in our community. And I think it's great that CARE can administer them.
Great. I'm also supportive, so I think I'm ready for a motion.
Perfect. Thank you. And I'll just share one more thing on the Tides of Change. When this started and OHCS 2 years ago said we will fund shelters in your community, they did not include DV shelters. When we said one of our most just necessary features is a domestic violence shelter, they said, well, I guess you can. So again, it speaks to the need for local voice, right? Someone who understands Tillamook County and our shelter landscape to be the person administering. So thank you for that. Okay, Mr. Chair, in consideration of a letter of support for Community Action Resource Enterprises, Inc. application to serve as regional coordinator for the statewide shelter program, I move approval.
I second.
Hearing motion and seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, agenda item 11, consideration of an order in the matter of reappointment of a member to Tillamook County Budget Committee, Isabel Gilda, Administrative Analyst. Good morning, Isabel.
Good morning, Commissioners. So before you today is a board order to reappoint Mr. Ken Henson to the Tillamook County Budget Committee. And I think the next item after this also. The Budget Committee is tasked with the responsibility to develop the county budget and policy and priorities and approve the annual budget for the county. The Budget Committee consists of 3 county commissioners and 3 community members. Mr. Henson has served on the committee since 2024, and this will be his 2nd term. It's a 3-year term. And Mr. Henson, he provides a wealth of knowledge and is very dedicated to the Budget Committee and to the county. And we're enormously grateful that he volunteered to be reappointed for another term.
Great. Commissioner Bell, any comments or concerns?
I am also grateful that Mr. Henson is willing to be reappointed. I agree with Isabel that he brings a tremendous wealth of knowledge and the energy, the interest and energy to really dive into the budget issues. And I'm also very grateful for his business acumen and, you know, that he represents the business industry and also that sometimes business budgeting is different than government budgeting, and he brings that information to us, which is very helpful.
Agree with that. Just go.
I agree as well. Ken brings great experience to us. And I believe he also sits on the Solid Waste
He does.
Budget Committee. So, and he has sat on the Solid Waste Budget Committee prior to this one. So in addition to having industry, he does have the government budgeting expertise, which allows him to kind of blend those 2 things in a way that, again, is exceptionally helpful. So I am delighted to have him continue with us as a Budget Committee member.
I agree with both of you. I was going to mention both of the same things you both just mentioned, but I will just add too that the amount of time that we're asking these volunteers to put is intense. And I just appreciate because we've expanded, we're doing more work, public meeting work with our budget, and having these volunteers willing to do that is amazing. So I also want to thank Ken for doing.
The Budget Committee is a lot of work.
It's a lot of
It's
work,
time.
and we've made it a lot more work for them.
Yeah, it used to be, I think, 4 days total, you know.
Now we're doing it throughout the year to just try to keep on track and keep track of everything.
So quarterly and more.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, I'm ready for a motion.
Mr. Chair, in consideration of order number 26-006 in the matter of the reappointment of a member to the Tillamook County Budget Committee, I move approval.
Second.
Hearing motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So carries. Isabel? In consideration of an order in the matter of appointment of a member of the Tillamook County Compensation Board, Isabel Gilda again.
And before you is another board order this time to reappoint Mr. Henson to the Tillamook County Compensation Board. Under ORS 204112, each county governing body shall appoint a county compensation board that shall annually review and recommends compensation salaries for the county's elected officials. Mr. Henson, again, been on this committee since 2024, and he's very dedicated. And when I reached out to him about the reappointment, his exact words were that he was very honored to be considered for reappointment. And that just shows how much he's dedicated to both his roles, especially on the compensation board also. And for your consideration.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just say I appreciate that he does bring his private sector budgeting and compensation brain with him to work on these things. So I'm fully supportive.
As am I. And I was just thinking that there are a group of people who serve in multiple capacities. You reminded me of this when you told us about the Solid Waste Advisory Committee and that Budget Committee. And, you know, it's really, I'm grateful for Ken Henson's leadership in the community because, you know, this community moves accomplishes great things with volunteers. And it seems like there are a smaller number of people who serve in many capacities as volunteers, and Ken is one of them. And I'm just really grateful for that.
He's a very active and dedicated volunteer in the community.
I agree. And I would just point out to community that these compensation board committee members, when we have vacancies, are published to the general public. And rarely, if ever, do we have people respond to those unless we are just out really beating the pavement and beating the bushes and asking and people to do it. So I encourage people to stay in touch with the work that we do. There will come vacancies, and we would love to have a group of people, myriad of people apply and to get those voices that we need at the table. I'm delighted that Ken applied when there was opening, and I am delighted that he's willing to continue to serve. But just in case people are wondering, how is it that you get one of these positions? Stay tuned. You know, often we are posting them in the newspaper. We will announce them in our meetings. So there's a variety of ways that we make people aware. I believe at Facebook page, there's all sorts of things.
I
So
will say that there's openings, I believe there's still openings on the Solid Waste Advisory Committee too. So we have
Okay.
other openings on our public boards.
Also on our library board too.
in our library board. Okay.
Yeah, these are the openings, and when there's vacancies, we love for people to put in for. So thank you for mentioning.
We do, and we publicize them. So we invite people to keep their eyes out for that.
Great.
Okay. Thank
I'm
you.
ready for a motion.
Mr. Chair, in consideration of order number 26-007 in the matter of the reappointment of a member to the Tillamook County Compensation Board, I move approval.
Second.
Hearing a motion in a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Isabel.
We also have a vacancy on the Road Advisory Committee. Nobody-
Okay, so there's a variety of ways to serve out there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you for
Isabel.
mentioning that as well. Okay, so moving on to agenda item 13 through 16. Did you want me to, are we just going to have a presentation and then go through each one separately?
Yeah, just mentioned we're gonna carry 13 through, 16 together.
Would you like me to read them into the record, all of them? All right, I'm going to read a bunch of agendas here, or agenda items. Number 13, consideration of an order in the matter of adjusting the county treasurer position from a 1.0 full-time equivalent to a 0.2 full-time equivalent and retitling the treasurer's office as the finance department within central services department. Agenda item 14 is consideration of a personnel requisition for a new regular full-time human resources assistant for the human resources department. Agenda item 15, consideration of a personnel requisition for a new regular full-time payroll specialist for the treasurer's office. That'll be also agenda item 16, consideration of a personnel requisition for a new regular full-time accounting clerk for the treasurer's office.
Good
Rachel
morning.
Haggerty and maybe Deborah, I'm not sure if she's coming up as well.
During its board briefing last week, I presented a staff report summarizing the research analysis and recommendations of staff and the executive team regarding the structure of the treasurer's office and the human resources department. The board discussed this matter and gave staff direction to proceed with reducing the treasurer position from 1 FTE to a 0.2 FTE. Before the board today is a proposed order for the board's consideration that would make this change effective immediately. Additionally, to support capacity in the two departments, direction was given to proceed with hiring a 1 FTE accounting clerk 1 and a 1 FTE HR technician, which would be shared between the HR and treasurer departments. These combined staffing changes are collectively referred to as scenario 4, which is preferred option 2 in last week's memo. And this scenario partially meets the capacity needs of the departments, as described in detail last week. Since last Wednesday's board briefing, individual commissioners have expressed interest in me in proceeding with scenario 3, which is preferred option 1. This scenario includes still hiring the accounting clerk 1, but instead of the shared HR technician, would hire a 1 FTE HR assistant and a 1 HR payroll, Start that part over. This scenario includes still hiring the accounting clerk 1, but instead of the shared HR technician, would hire a 1 FTE HR assistant and 1 payroll specialist to fully meet the capacity needs identified in the two departments. For the record and the public who may not have been able to attend or listen into last week's meeting, I'd like to share a few of the excerpts from the memorandum that I presented last week during the briefing. The elected county treasurer is a constitutionally established county office with core duties defined by statute. While the specific responsibilities of the treasurer may vary depending on a county's size and management structure, general law counties, including Tillamook County, are required to retain the treasurer's statutory functions. At the same time, general law counties have flexibility to assign or redefine other financial management responsibilities outside of those core duties. Historically, Tillamook County has operated with a full-time 1 FTE elected treasurer. More recently, the county established a full-time director of financial services within the central services structure to provide strategic financial planning, financial analysis, and enhanced organizational capacity. Over the past 5 years, an increasing number of Oregon counties have transitioned from a full-time treasurer model to a reduced FTE structure or alternative staffing approaches. Within Tillamook County's population demographic, the county is now one of only 2 counties that continue to operate with a full-time treasurer, while peer counties utilize a range of different organizational models. Following the January resignation of the Tillamook County Treasurer, the county is at a key decision point regarding its long-term financial management structure. In response, staff conducted a comprehensive review of current financial operations, capacity needs, and the statutory requirements, as well as a review of trends in organizational structures in comparable counties. In a similar context, following the resignation of the HR director last year, the county has also been evaluating the structure and capacity of the HR department. With the board's decision to transition 1 HR technician position to the HR manager role, the board has further determined that the HR director position will remain vacant indefinitely. While HR and financial operations are distinct, the departments work closely together and present opportunities for shared or coordinated solutions. The county's strategic plan called for the creation of the central services model to improve the level of support provided to county departments, enabling them to serve the public more efficiently and effectively. Over the past 16 months, significant progress has been made in restructuring the central services departments in alignment with this goal. To ensure sufficient capacity within the county's HR and financial operations, reduce legal and compliance risk, shift from reactive to proactive service delivery, and mitigate staff burnout, staff is recommending additional organizational restructuring. Staff developed and analyzed 7 potential staffing scenarios and evaluated each option based on operational effectiveness, compliance, capacity, long-term sustainability, and cost. Scenario 3, which is preferred option 1, what is being considered by the board today, given the shift in potential direction following last week's meeting. This scenario is a model that ensures professional financial leadership and administration, transparency, and legal compliance. It also improves service levels, operational efficiency, continuity of operations, and retention of institutional knowledge. And the combined increase in FTEs over the this fiscal year's adopted budget between the 2 departments is 1.2 FTEs. I did want to make a note on one of the provisions in the draft order. It was brought to my attention by Ms. Bailey over the weekend that there was a lack of clarity in number 13. The way it was previously written and posted with the agenda, it implied that the treasurer under this restructuring would be accountable to the chief administrative officer, because that the finance department, which the treasurer would be a part of, is under central service. But as we know, that is not the case. And so number 13 has been revised to provide that clarity. And it now reads, the treasurer's office is hereby retitled as the Finance Department and incorporated within the Central Services Department to more accurately reflect the organizational structure and scope of responsibilities. Notwithstanding this designation and organizational change, the office of the elected treasurer shall remain an independent constitutional office accountable only to the voters. So with that, I can take any questions, and then if you're ready to proceed with the order, I can read some of the clauses into the record.
Hey, Commissioner Bell.
Thank you. Well, I have been, of course, as we all have, thinking about this, and we received a letter, public comment from Ms. Bailey, and from 2 other people as well. So I've been thinking about those, and I try to ask myself, when people have incorrect perceptions of what we're doing, I ask myself, where did we miscommunicate, or where did we fail to communicate what was actually happening? And my theory about what's happening here is that the public didn't get much notice or communication about the treasurer's resignation because we didn't. So we got a month's notice. We didn't know the treasurer was going to resign. And had the treasurer not resigned, we wouldn't be looking at a model where we were changing that. So I never heard anybody consider it. But when the treasurer resigned, then it's incumbent upon us in the in management of the organization, just like a responsible business would, to take a look at the department, take a look at operations and say, do we still need a full-time person in this role? And what do we need this role to accomplish? So we did that. We did the operational analysis of the Treasurer's Department and, as Rachel said, also the HR department. What is really needed here? And is it the same thing we've already had? Do we need 2 full-time leadership positions in this role? And we don't. What we need is the statutory responsibility of the treasurer as set out by Oregon law. We need that. And so we wouldn't consider not doing that. So it moved forward. I was thinking when Commissioner Yamamoto resigned from his position, there was all kinds of public communication about it because I think we had a year's notice. And so there was public planning and public notice and an engagement period and all of that, but we didn't have that opportunity here because we didn't know the treasurer was going to resign. And we didn't talk about her resignation much out of respect for her because it was her process and it was her message. And so we were just in a position to react. So we did the assessment of what we actually need, and the perceived rush is that the treasurer is an elected position, and people need to file to run by March 10th. And so if somebody's going to file to run for that position, it needs to happen in the next couple of weeks. So someone asked, why the rush? And that's why, because it's an elected position. And we want the public to be able to elect somebody if people choose to run. So it was our responsibility to appoint a treasurer. We appointed Deb Jacob, who's highly qualified, but she doesn't want to run. So if she were filing to run, we'd all get to choose whether or not to vote for her, but she doesn't want to run. So it's an interim position for her. So we need a treasurer. This is the most cost-effective way and the most efficient way for us to move forward. So it's really about stewardship of the county's dollars, but we wouldn't be considering it at all had the treasurer not elected to resign. So that's where we're at, and everything, all of this has happened in public, but it's happened quickly. And so I just wanted to explain that it seems like people feel like there's something nefarious going on, and there really isn't. We're just doing our best to react to what's happening and to be good stewards.
Thank you for that. Commissioner Scar.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate all of the information that Commissioner Bell put forward, and I'm not going to repeat that. I would like to refer to our legal counsel, and I asked him just to clarify for us because the Polk County lawsuit was brought up. And while I could speak to what I've been told, I think it would just be a better option to have our legal counsel affirm what's different between that situation and our situation, and why, in fact, this is not something that is not a legal move.
So, Commissioners, good morning. So in November of 2023, the Polk County Treasurer sued the county over a resolution and ordinance that had reassigned the treasurer's statutory duties to the county's financial manager. A year later, the court ruled that both were unlawful, reasoning that Polk County was not a home rule charter county, and thus lacked the authority to reassign those treasurer statutory duties to someone else. Since then, Polk County has established a part-time treasurer position and a full-time financial position, with the treasurer performing the statutory duties. So like Polk County, Tillamook County, right, is a general law county And yeah, I think in the materials, right, it was, was a, kind of outlined it as far as what is a home rule, what is a charter, home rule or charter county, and what is a general law county, and what the other counties are doing to include Polk County, and now what Tillamook County is considering as far as still having a treasurer position, but having those statutory duties performed by the treasurer. And as a general law county, that county has to follow the statutes. However, those same statutes, in particular, ORS Chapter 203, gives general law counties significant flexibility to reorganize, to consolidate departments, right? To look for ways to better deliver services. And so, so what state law allows, right, is allow that flexibility, right, to do this just reorganization, and so long as they still follow state law and the treasurer still performing those statutory duties. Any other questions?
Thank you. Fellow commissioners, questions?
No.
So just to make sure that I understand correctly what you said, what Polk County did was they proposed not having the treasurer perform the statutory duties of treasurer. And that's what they got in trouble for.
That is correct.
And what we're proposing is that an elected treasurer perform all the statutory duties of a treasurer.
That is correct.
Thank you.
And there are other counties that currently do that. And I think that in the materials lists out those counties. Those that have, for example, those counties that don't have a treasurer position are the home rule counties, right? That have the charter, that have that authority. Which then there's 9 home rule counties. Everybody else has either a full-time or part-time position for the treasurer to perform those duties. So you can see that the county is doing it various ways in accordance with either their charter or state law.
Thank you.
I would just like to ask you, counsel, as well. You happen to come from a county that did something very similar. And we, again, didn't know our treasurer was going to suddenly resign. It just so happened that the county council that we hired has experience in this. And so Crook County currently has, if you could explain what they have.
Absolutely. Crook County has pretty much the same model as what Tillamook County is considering now, is a part-time treasurer doing the statutory duties, and also a full-time finance director. And my experience there in Crook County, was the full-time finance director doing the day-to-day stuff and oversight, but then having that part-time treasurer doing the oversight, is what Tillamook County is doing. And so, Commissioner, thank you for pointing that out. Right, is here you have Crook County, which it does enjoy a reputation of doing things by the book, including this legal department, right? And so it's a good model to follow.
So we're grateful to have you for that. Anything else?
Yeah, just a couple other things. So, we are transitioning from a model in which the treasurer was the department head. And that's a different model when you're elected officials, your department head. We happen to use that model in a number of our departments. And in this case, we're saying, is that the best choice here? And as we look at this, one of the other things that's really important when you talk about financial work is the separation of duties and the independence, right? So as we look at the treasurer position, not only is it something we absolutely want to keep, it is something you cannot do without, and we would not want to, for that same purpose of financial oversight and the separation of duties. In fact, I think that in many ways, this is a better option because the person is not involved in the day-to-day operations of the department. They are not someone who is overseeing entries and signing checks on a regular basis or putting checks in. All of those pieces are now separate. This is someone who comes in without having been engaged in it to say, show me how it is meeting the needs. Show me how these statutory pieces are being done and being done properly. And it's someone from an outside view. So I think that in fact, it is a really useful and secondary purpose that gets them out of the weeds, because that's the reason that financial departments are required to have separation of duties, is so that you have somebody not in the weeds, somebody who is looking with fresh eyes. And I think that this does that work for us, which I think is fantastic. I also look forward to having someone who is highly qualified to do this work. Our past treasurer commonly said she could leave this position and make much more with her qualifications because she was doing things on a daily basis that really were duties that could have been done by someone with less experience and knowledge. And so we can really use the best skills of someone who has that higher level of knowledge and not have them doing day-to-day bookkeeping, which is part of what was happening is we had an elected treasurer who was embedded in the system doing day-to-day bookkeeping, which doesn't require and use those high level skills to their best advantage. So I'm pleased to know that we are within our legal bounds. I think that is really important. And I do believe that the separation that comes with this so that the person who is coming in has that statutory duty in mind, and that is their main focus, and to look and make sure that we are meeting that without being mired into the day-to-day activities of running a department.
Okay, well, since we are considering the 4 agenda items together, I'd like to speak to some of the other ones too, if you guys don't mind. And I'll-
No, please
and I'll
do.
bring back
Yeah.
and forth because I know we focus on this. I would agree with both of what you just said, and I appreciate the guidance that we're getting from council and Rachel. I just want to say the amount of thought, and we were rushed. It was a very sudden departure, and I really don't know if people appreciate the amount of work we went into giving the commissioners options. We're not allowed to talk outside of here about this stuff. So this stuff, we need our staff. We rely on our staff to do it. Our HR and finance director just did a great job with working with Rachel. I want to say that after last week, like Rachel said, I think individually and separately, we individually came to you and said, maybe I want to look at this other one. And what I appreciate about our staff, and I'm going to embarrass Deborah a little bit, but is that rightfully so, they had budgetary concerns in mind. And that was really, I mean, you look at this, it's really well thought out, all these different scenarios. But when it came down to it, I wanted to know what the staff in those departments thought. So I went to each staff individually, each office or department individually. And what I learned was, and this is something that's interesting too, as we're shifting to the central services model, people have to realize that the departments that we have in there uniquely touch every other department. And I appreciate April's email, and I replied to her email. I had another constituent that also emailed and was concerned. I went to meet him in person. He wasn't there, but I did speak to him. So I appreciate the engagement, and hopefully that whether or not you agree with us after this is done or what the process is, that you feel like at least explaining why it was happened so quickly. When I went to these departments, I want to say what I heard was my staff were so concerned about overhiring and spending too much that they were willing to continue it as a person who's worked there for over 2 decades. Our people are amazing at really working a lot and with little. And we are very conscious of our budget, but the reality is we need staff. Those 2 departments, they've been operating with 3 people. They've been budgeted for 4 people. And I think reporting requirements, new HR 1 bill required different reporting requirements that takes more time. We just did a bunch of market studies and retro pay increases and all that payroll work. I haven't heard other departments complaining about this idea at all. I know the other thing people need to realize is this wasn't just decided, isn't just being decided here. Rachel presented this to our executive team, so other directors were engaged in this. And when I went to these departments, what I heard was people were working overtime, not because they wanted to make money, but because they felt the work needed to get done and they were committed to their jobs. And I don't think an employee can have a good quality of life work balance if they're working overtime every week. I don't think it's acceptable. I think people are working through lunches, not acceptable, not okay. We've talked about this here publicly, and we both agree on that. This is the kind of thing where people were rescheduling doctor's appointments and dental appointments and surgeries and things that they need to get done because they felt the work was important enough, but they need help. And as a liaison to other departments, I'm very conscious of like We don't want to just help some departments. These departments help every other department. And some other departments don't actually need physical people. They need technology or they need upgrades to efficiency, like we've heard from Christie with the new ballot machine and the assessor's office asking for better satellite photos and AI use. And so each department, I think, as liaisons, we're listening and trying to figure out what can we give you, and it may not be the position. We have vacancies, and that's important to our budget right now. But these positions, these jobs, these departments, in my opinion, need these people. I'm excited it's a 1.2 addition only for these. I think when I was talking to Deborah, I asked her, which one do you want? Which one works for you? And we joked about it because she says, well, this one is cheaper and I like to be lean on my budget. And I said, well, you keep being lean, but what does your department need? And really, I love that concern that she was worried, like, I don't know if I have, if we're going to be over hiring, which was another term that I hadn't heard before. And I thought, and Rachel and I spoke about this, we as a county have shifted our whole model where we're not just looking right in front of us anymore. We are planning 5-10 years out. All the training that we've been getting is we have to be looking up and further out. And to that point is, I don't think we're over hiring at all. I think these people are going to be busy all the time and going to the future. So I just wanted to say that about the other agenda items. So I'll open it back up for you if you'd like to say anything about that.
Thank you. I appreciate that we did the analysis of what the departments really need. And now I'm repeating myself to say that it's not a good business practice to just rehire automatically based on what you have had in the past. So we did a complete thorough analysis, Central Services did, of what the departments really need. And what we will be considering today is their assessment of what they really need. I appreciate the point you made and Commissioner Scar made last week about in the past, before we reorganized and started the Central Services Department, other departments had a lot of needs of these departments of HR and the Treasurer's Department that were not being met. There were a lot of things that were not working smoothly. And since we reorganized, our whole organization is in a state of change. And since we reorganized, a lot of those issues have been resolved. But to Commissioner Fournier's point, they've been resolved on the backs of the people who are working there, doing a brilliant job. But some of them are working overtime. There are people who haven't scheduled a vacation or who have canceled vacations because there's so much work to be done. And part of our goal, of course, is for these departments to be able to provide what the other departments need. And for them to do that, they need adequate staffing. And part of our responsibility is to be committed to retention. And we've seen that when people in other departments, we've seen that when people are consistently overworked, they move on, they take other jobs and we lose them. And then we're way behind because then we have to recruit people and train them and hope they'll stay. So this all makes sense to me, to give people what they need, including additional staff. And it looks like we're hiring multiple people because of all the titles that we read. However, it's when you take into account the positions that are not being filled, it's 1.2. So I think 1.2 is a very good investment for us to make in the operations of the county.
Thank you.
I agree. And I spoke to this last week passionately. So if anyone wants to see that recording, please feel free to go back and do that. I won't give my whole spiel again. But I do believe that we need to provide employees with a work environment that has a workload that's reasonable for them. I do believe that we need to provide our departments that are served by Central Services the support they need from Central Services to be able to provide the services they do to the public, right? That is why through our strategic planning process, we heard very specifically from our department directors, we need a better Central Services. We need Central Services. We need this to work. And I think it really is important to recognize that in HR, we had a director and 3 employees, and that director left, and we have maintained with 3 employees plus Rachel. And that is not realistic on a long-term basis. So really looking and saying, what are the 4 employees that we should have is what we've been able to do. And that is the one position that we're looking to bring into that department, is to bring us back to a 4-employee HR department, which, mind you, is serving 270 employees currently across, I believe, 13 different, departments. I mean, this is big for people. And so I don't think it's unreasonable to say we need to backfill that 4th role. And for the finance department, as I already talked about, there's really importance of a separation of duties. And in order to make sure that you can keep that separation of duties, you have to have enough people in your finance department to do so. The other thing I would say about the finance department is that we have been operating on 4 people historically. One of them is the treasurer. One of them is the deputy treasurer. And then you have your payroll specialist, and I won't get the title right for the other person, but another person. Accounting technician. So what we have done is the treasurer has resigned. The deputy treasurer was in fact moved to our finance director position, which was the +1 FTE that we're really talking about. So currently she's been pulled back into that finance department to keep it running with the 2 remaining people, which means you're down these 2 roles, because the finance director has other things that she needs to be doing for us. We've been doing this huge amount of work related to revenues for the county, expenses for the county, analysis, opportunity. How do we move forward? How do we not look backward to move forward and only do what we've always done? But how do we actually look at best practices and how we can, to Commissioner Fournier's point, be working out toward the future, instead of only for today being drugged backward by how we've always done things, right? We are really looking and embracing that. And it is uncomfortable because sometimes it comes fast and sometimes it feels very, very uncomfortable because it's different. That said, back to the 2 people in the finance department. And what we're looking to do is replace that deputy treasurer position and replace what would have been the worker bee of the treasurer, who, again, we've had a highly skilled person doing regular bookkeeping. You have 4 people who are really doing the work that they need to do, and you have a highly skilled person coming in as a treasurer to provide that oversight piece. So are they new positions? Yes and no. Those 2 positions in the finance are in fact replacing 2 positions that have left. So it is important. It gets us where we need to go. I believe that it will get our department heads the service they need from both HR and finance, which will help them serve the people in our community better. And that's really the heart of where this model is going. It's hard. We are doing big change, and we're doing big change in a very different way than it's been done at this county for as long as anybody can remember, right? So it does take some forward thinking. It does take some uncomfortable moments and some potentially messy moments, which we have seen as well. We are human beings and we are doing our best to do this in the best possible way. But it's going to be sometimes uncomfortable. And I think we're sitting in one of those uncomfortable moments right now where we did not choose to have the treasurer resign. We did not choose to have this be the moment for this opportunity, but it came to us and we had to act, because that's how we're going to make significant progress for this county in its efficiency, in its effectiveness, and in its use of best practices. So I am in support of hiring the people we need to provide the services required.
I'm as well. I just want to point out to you, people forget that this county, this company is a $180 million company. Our budget is $179 million. And we have 4 people.
4 people.
We're talking about 4 people here, and people have to understand that's payroll. That's all the tax receipts and stuff. Everything we have to do, all that work.
Cash that comes in
It's-
every day. I mean, it's everything.
We talk about the general fund quite a bit, which
Yeah.
is what, 30 something million? Yeah.
234.
And but we are a 179 point something million dollar company, and that requires a lot of work to manage. So I appreciate the work they do. I hope this is enough. I fully support this going forward. And we try to be proactive, not reactive.
Correct.
And that
we-
can be
yeah.
painful.
And we will be evaluating it.
And that's the other thing I want to say. This, we're constantly evaluating even central services. We built that into Rachel's motion, built into that we are, and the same thing with here. If it proves that we need more time for the treasurer, we can talk about that. Like, this is the thing, nothing can't be altered
Right.
We are trying, there's no nefarious action here. We're trying to make this place run better. And we are transparent. All the records are online. The meetings are public. We try to do everything as public as we can, but they are happening fast. So with that, if there's anything else, I'm ready for motions. Should we do each one individually and, okay.
I was hoping you were going to say he read them all into the record. I can say as read into the record by the chair, I move, okay. So we will start with item 13. Mr. Chair, in consideration of order number 26-008 in the matter of adjusting the county treasurer position from a 1.0 full-time equivalent to an 0.2 full-time equivalent and retitling the treasurer's office as the finance department within the central services department, I move approval.
I second.
Hearing a motion and a second, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Item 14, Mr. Chair, consideration of a personnel requisition for a new regular full-time human resources assistant for the Human Resources Department. I move approval.
Second.
Okay, hearing a motion and a second, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Item 15, Mr. Chair, in consideration of a personnel requisition for a new regular full-time payroll specialist for the treasurer's office. I move approval.
Second.
Okay, hearing a motion and a second, any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Mr. Chair, in consideration of a personnel requisition for a new regular full-time accounting clerk 1 for the treasurer's office, I move approval.
Second.
Okay, hearing a motion and a second, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right, that was quite an agenda today. Board concerns.
I'd just like to acknowledge that we are not meeting next Wednesday, that I will be in Washington, DC, as will Commissioner Fournier for the National Association of Counties Conference. This is an opportunity to meet with our peers, also to meet with many different individuals from the federal government who will both be speaking at our conference, as well as the opportunity to visit the Hill, as they call it, to meet specifically with our senators and representatives and share with them concerns from Tillamook County, as well as those on a national basis. So it's a good opportunity. And one of the key, I always talk about the 3 key roles of a county commissioner, and one of those is to be at the federal level, making sure our voices are heard. And so this is the primary opportunity that we as commissioners use to do so.
Excellent. Commissioner Bell?
No board concerns for me today.
I would just like to mention something if I can find it. So you both are very familiar with salmon superhighways.
Yep.
So I wasn't until I became a commissioner, and I'm not going to go into details because I'll mess it up. But this is a group that combined, like you would be. I was amazed. I just want to say this. I was amazed that we had groups like Trout Unlimited funding replacement culverts, and Public Works Director Chris Lady sent me these today, and I just wanted to see that we are the county. I love when we partner with groups like this to get our infrastructure fixed, to get our salmon habitat back. These are the things that we never get credit for as a county when we are painted with that wide federal or state and rush on salmon habitat. We do so much, and we work so well with groups that you don't think would blend well with government. And so I just wanted to mention that because I appreciate it. If you know anything about the salmon superhighway, there's a website.
Yes, I Google it.
Just
It's
Google it.
cool. It's
Google
very cool. And Rachel's quite the expert on the work that's been done based on her past job and her work here.
Is there anything else for the good of the order? All right, let me make my announcements then. As you already mentioned, the commissioners will hold a board briefing on Wednesday, February 18th, today, 2026 at 2 p.m. to discuss weekly commissioner meetings. The meeting will be held in the Board of Commissioners room here, 106, Tillamook County Courthouse, 201 Laurel Avenue, Tillamook. Teleconference number for that is 1-971-254-3149. Conference ID 866-914-607#. And as Commissioner Scarra mentioned, there is no board meeting or board briefing scheduled for February 25th, 2026 due to a lack of a quorum. And with that, I will call this meeting adjourned at 10:14.